गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. All right. Now, ninth point this is misconceptions about Shankara. Okay. Ninth misconception about avidya and maya we have discussed. Okay. There is in Shankara's view, there is a difference between avidya and maya. Avidya and maya are not synonyms. In Shankara's view, avidya is a misunderstanding or bhranti. Avidya is misunderstanding or bhranti, and maya is what appears during misunderstanding, what appears due to misunderstanding. All that appears, the good and bad, okay, the cause and effect, time, space, cause and effect, everything that appears except Brahman, everything else is maya. Okay. And this maya has got two states. One is the apparent form, another is a tentative suspension of the appearance, called technically as unmanifest. Okay. So that unmanifest is called avyakta in Sanskrit. So to pinpoint that avyakta or maya, avyakta is called maya, the unmanifest is called maya, whereas the manifest means that appears differentiated into name and form, is maya karya. Karya is not exactly in the sense that we see in the world. See, karya here, maya karya doesn't mean maya should not be imagined as like a material, like a clay modifies into a pot. So maya is not something like a clay which modifies into a pot. Shouldn't imagine. It is called simply a cause. Cause only means that it is only a previous state. Purva sthiti, a state before it appears as differentiated into name and form. Before it appears as name and form, it doesn't appear, that's all. The karana only means, the cause only means that it is not a visible state. Yet it is going to appear. It will appear sometimes later. But at the moment it is not up. Means there is a state. There is a state where in that state this nama rupa doesn't appear. That's what it means. That means this appearance, it only means that the nama rupa appearance is not so continuous. It is not eternal. It only means this much, that the appearance of nama rupa is not eternal, is not continuous. It gets suspended. Because we see the waking state or dream state that go on, but they have a break. The waking state or dream state has a break. Break means a suspension. Break means this gets suspended, called deep sleep, again they appear. So this suspension only shows that the Namarupa appearance of the world is not continuous, is not eternal. It only means this much. Okay. So what is avidya? Avidya is that both these states of appearing and non-appearing are a mistake, a misunderstanding of Brahman. Means in the misunderstanding of Brahman, this world may appear or tentatively disappear. The duality, the Namarupa world may appear or disappear for a while. In either state, whether it is appearing or non-appearing, both are a misunderstanding. This is what it means. It may appear or may not appear. So both these states are like two sides of the same paper, because the whole world, both in its apparent state and non-appearing state, is is a misunderstanding of Brahman. It is not a real state. That's what it means. Okay, this is Swamiji. This is Shankaracharya's Prakriya, which Satchidananda Swamiji recognized and presented very clearly. Whereas we are just summarizing. Whereas summarizing what we already discussed, the ninth point in our previous class. Okay, whereas the post Shankarites take it differently. They take totally from the opposite side. They say that the avyakta is some material. They call avyakta itself is avidya, and that it is an avidya, it is a material. They talk of it that it is something like a material. It really transforms into the waking world. So the waking world is only a transformation of deep sleep state. Now, deep sleep is a timeless state, isn't it? It is a state where there is no time and space. So that how can you imagine that a non-appearance of the world, the state of non-appearance of the world is a material. First point that it is a material. Second, that it modifies. See, first point that it is a material. Okay, and second is that it modifies into the waking world. These both seem to be imaginations alone, because your experiences don't tell. Your experience doesn't tell that. So it is only an imagination of them. So this material avyakta we presented, means as Swamiji told, that the avyakta and vyakta both are misunderstandings upon Brahman. Therefore, misunderstanding is avidya. What they say is this Maya is synonymous to avidya. Means that avyakta is avidya. Avyakta, which is material, is avidya according to them. Okay, this is avidya according to them, and this avidya modifies into the namarupa vyakta prapancha. It modifies into vyakta prapancha. Okay, the namarupa vyakta. Now, second point is next point about them is first it modifies. First, it is a material and it modifies, and the same thing is called avidya by them. Okay, third point. Fourth point is when it manifests as world, body, mind, and I thought, I notion of I. Okay, and this notion of I and mind and body, these are superimposed upon the Atma. Now they say Adhyasa is a part of the world. See how they talk of it. Adhyasa is one part of the world. Entire world is not Adhyasa. See, Adhyasa is only, these are superimposed upon Atma. Okay. Therefore, Adhyasa is two ways they say. Either they say entire world is Adhyasa, or they say there are two ways, means two different people. Or they say only the body, mind, and aham buddhi and I thought, I notion, these three are adhyasa upon the Atma, and body is apparent to that adhyasta Atma. That's all. It is a Maya Karya, but not adhyasa. They talk like this. World is Maya Karya. World is a Maya Karya, but not adhyasa. There are two aspects they talk about. World is a Maya Karya, and body, mind, and aham buddhi, I notion, these alone is superimposed upon the Atma. So that means before adhyasa there is world, before adhyasa there is avyakta, But that Abhyakta is a material. That means it is a Prakriti. They call it Prakriti. So in other words, they call Prakriti is avidya. Sankhya's Prakriti is avidya. They call Prakriti is synonymous with avidya. Sankhya's Prakriti is avidya. But only difference they make from Sankhya. Okay. Only different the only difference they make from Sankhya is that it is dependent on Brahman and is negated by knowledge. Sankhya say Prakriti is parallel to Atma. Okay. Prakriti is parallel to Atma, parallel reality. Prakriti is parallel reality to Atma. Only Atma gets attacked, Atma gets connected to Prakriti, that is Adhyasa. So you detach it with the Jnanam and then Atma is liberated. But Prakriti remains parallelly existing with Atma. Okay, this is Sankhya's Prakriya. Vedantins say that Prakriti is not parallel, it is dependent upon Brahman. It is, it is dependent upon Brahman and it acts only by the blessing of Brahman. Okay, it is dependent upon Brahman, it is not independent, but it goes by knowledge. Second point is it goes by knowledge. How do you say it goes by knowledge? How? Because Shruti says. One is Shruti says that Maya gets negated by knowledge. One is Shruti says. Two is we have accepted, when we accept Prakriti, we have accepted as negatable by knowledge. We have accepted it as destroyable by knowledge. Okay? There are many more complex things. I think I don't want to go into them. If you go into details, there are few more complicated ideas, few more conflicting ideas, but that becomes too big and too difficult. Uh, we will discuss later. It may come later sometimes. They don't accept that entire Maya goes away. Okay, I'll touching now. Okay, anyway, I'm touching one point here. They say only a part of Maya which is related to Jiva, that alone goes by Jnanam. Remaining Maya doesn't go away. A small part of Maya goes away with Jnanam. Remaining Maya is required for running the world. Remaining, see, Maya produces the world for all jivas. They say like this, Maya produces the world for all jivas. Okay? Maya produces the world for all jivas. So, when one jiva gets jnanam, a part of avidya which is associated with jiva, this jiva, a small part of avidya or maya associated with jiva, this jiva goes away by jnana. If entire avidya goes away, if when one jiva gets jnana, then the entire avidya goes away, is destroyed, then the world will be destroyed, other jivas would not exist. Other jivas don't have to try for moksha. This is their prakriya. Vyakhyanakara's prakriya, Mula Vidyavadi's prakriya is what I am telling. Okay, therefore they say entire Maya doesn't go away with Jnanam. Okay, so therefore only a small part of avidya which is connected to this jiva goes away with his knowledge. Remaining Maya remains with Brahman in order to produce the world and to delude other jivas. So when one jiva gets another jnanam, one more part of avidya goes away. Another jiva gets it, one more part of goes away. Then you don't know how long it will take for the entire maya to go away. This only God alone knows. Anyway, this is their confusion. This is their prakriya. Therefore, first, that means it implies that Maya doesn't go away with Jnanam completely. Okay. Maya doesn't go away with Jnanam. Only a small part goes away. Other part of Maya continues. This is a complicated prakriya. This prakriya more creates a problem. Okay. Therefore, Maya Avidya are not synonymous. According to them, Maya and Avidya synonymous, and in synonymity, how they complicate it. See, all these things we have discussed. So they say, one more thing I want to say. It is simply dependent on Brahman. Okay. How does it go by knowledge? This is one more point. Whether it goes completely or partly. Okay. Again, there are two views. Some people say it goes completely, some people say it goes only a partly. Whatever. If it goes, how does it go? How? How and why? Can jnanam destroy something, a material prakriti? Can jnanam destroy a material prakriti? Huh? Just because it is dependent on Brahman. Okay? Just because it is dependent on Brahman. See, our question is like this. Any destruction, any destruction takes place only if it is liable to be destroyed. If it is capable of being destroyed. For example, say, light and darkness are opposite to each other. You bring the light, there is no darkness. Darkness gets destroyed. Or there is a paper. There is a paper or a piece of wood and fire. You bring the fire, the paper gets burnt. That means the relation between fire and the paper is such that one burns, other gets burnt. Because it is their very nature is like that. It is very nature. Like when there is hunger, you take food, your hunger is appeased. Because your hunger is appeased with food. It is their very nature, opposite nature. So when there is a nature of the very nature of the two things is such that they are opposite, that one negator negated, destroyer and destroyed. One destroys, other gets destroyed. Okay. If the nature of two is, one is destroyed, another is destroyer. So the nature of destroyer and destroyed should be clearly established. Then only we can say, you bring knowledge, avidya goes away. But for them, for us, avidya is a misunderstanding. Okay? Avidya is a misunderstanding. That misunderstanding goes away. Misunderstanding goes away with knowledge. Why? You don't have to ask why. You don't have to reason because that is their nature. Misunderstanding is corrected by right understanding, isn't it? Misunderstanding is a wrong standpoint. Right understanding is right standpoint, that's all. A wrong standpoint gets corrected with right standpoint. Okay? Misunderstanding is wrong knowledge. Wrong knowledge means wrong standpoint. Wrong knowledge means wrong standpoint. A wrong standpoint corrected with the right knowledge. That means right standpoint. So in our prakriya, we say a wrong knowledge gets corrected with right knowledge. Because it is very clear. Because wrong knowledge is opposite to right knowledge. When the right knowledge comes, wrong knowledge goes away. You don't need any logic separately because that is its nature. But here, Prakriti, which is dependent on Brahman, Prakriti, which is a material consisting of three qualities Satvika, Rajasa, Tamasa. Okay, consisting of Satvika, Rajasa, Tamasa, three qualities, it is called Prakriti. Just because it is dependent on Brahman, can it be destroyed by Jnanam? So, the nature of them, the nature between them should be of destroyer destroyed. There should be opposite nature between them, that one cannot exist in presence of the other. Okay, that means in presence of light, in the wake of light, darkness cannot exist. Okay, in the wake of light, darkness cannot exist. Therefore, when light comes, darkness disappears, gets negated, gets falsified. That means it gets destroyed. So, in presence of light, darkness cannot exist. But Panchapadikakara says, so the nature of light and darkness is not opposite to each other. That means they can coexist, he says. Light and darkness, Panchapadikakara, the first commentator on Shankara Bhashya, uh, is Panchapadikakara says, light and darkness can coexist. See, can light and darkness coexist? Where there is a light, can we show the darkness there? Where there is light, there itself can we show darkness? Or it is impossible. That means where there is a light, darkness cannot exist. Means the presence of light already has destroyed darkness. The light has come, darkness gone. Means after coming of light, darkness doesn't take some time to meet the light and shake hand and tell goodbye and go away. Does it take some time to stay with it and look at the light and shake hands with him and go and later go away after some time, after taking coffee and spending time with him and then leisurely go away? Or instantly, the light has arrived, no darkness, that's all. They are opposite to each other. They can't coexist. Okay? Light and darkness cannot coexist. According to whom? According to Swamiji and us and Shankara. Light and darkness are opposite to each other. They cannot coexist. But Panchapadika says light and darkness can coexist. Prakriti and Jnanam can coexist. Therefore, after the Jnanam comes, it takes little time and gradually it destroys Prakriti. But the nature of Jnanam and Prakriti, opposite to them cannot be established. Because Prakriti is a material, Jnanam is only a light. Jnanam is not fire. Now the question is Jnanam light? Is Jnanam similar to light or similar to fire? Okay. Is Jnanam similar to light or fire? If light, it can only dispel darkness, doesn't burn away anything. But fire burns away. Okay. Now tell me, if Prakriti is material, how can knowledge destroy it? It knowledge it can destroy only an ignorance, a misunderstanding. How can a material which is dependent on Brahman can be destroyed by okay? Can be destroyed by light? Or, or is it burnt away by fire? But Jnanam is not fire, Jnanam is only light. So this is a misunderstanding they have. They present a wrong prakriya. Next point is Prakriti and Jnanam. The nature of between them should be opposite nature. Opposite means they cannot coexist. But they cannot establish the opposite nature. But they say, we have assumed, we have accepted that they are opposite and they can go away. Here also, though they accept opposite nature, still they accept coexistence. on one side. Okay. And they say, second, they say, yes, we have accepted that it is destroyed. How? No school of philosophy. No school of philosophy, Sankhya, Yoga, and then Nyayayika, Vaisheshika, they all accept ignorance is not knowing and misunderstanding. Ignorance is not knowing and misunderstanding. When you know, the misunderstanding ceases. But how can a simple Prakriti, a material which is dependent upon Paramatma, can be destroyed? They say, we have accepted it to be destroyed. But it doesn't act, but it won't, it is not tenable because no school of philosophy accepted, no logic shows it, and there is no such a thing, there is no example for it in our life. There is no illustration for such a thing in our life. So, on what basis do you say that a Prakriti, just because it is dependent on Brahman, gets destroyed by knowledge? They say, in our school of philosophy, it is tenable. They say, Asmat Pakshe Yujyate. This is what one Sanskrit scholar says. Asmat Pakshe Yujyate. It is tenable in our school of philosophy. How? Because we have accepted that it can be destroyed by knowledge. This is an assumption, not any proof. So, the Prakriti has to be a product of misunderstanding. It has to be product of avidya, product of bhranti. They say, we say the very Prakriti is a product of bhranti. Prakriti means avyakta. Prakriti is a product of bhranti, error or misunderstanding. Okay? Or adhyasa. Prakriti is a product of adhyasa. Then it goes away with jnana. They say adhyasa is a product of Prakriti. Okay? Prakriti produces adhyasa. Prakriti produces adhyasa. It is not produced by adhyasa. Prakriti produces adhyasa or bhranti. Prakriti, see the difference. We say Prakriti is produced by bhranti, therefore it goes away. Because bhranti goes away with knowledge. But they say Prakriti produces bhranti, cause of bhranti. That's why they call root cause, Mula Vidya. Mula Avidya, the root cause of misunderstanding, root cause of adhyasa. This is the big mistake. Mistake means a wrong presentation of prakriya, wrong presentation of Vedantic ideas. Mind finds it difficult to understand. So the Prakriti, which is dependent on Brahman, beginningless and dependent on Brahman. One more thing they say, it is beginningless but ends by knowledge. Okay? It is beginningless but ends by knowledge. How? Just because it is big, but big, how can the beginningless end by knowledge? They give some funny example. They just we have accepted, therefore it goes away. So these are all assumptions, theories, hypotheses rather than facts. Therefore their prakriya goes away. Okay, this we have discussed already in the previous class. I only just summarized. Okay, certain concepts need to be repeated. Certain points have to be repeated to become clear. Okay, next point. 10th point is Ishvara, Brahman and Ishvara. Brahman and Ishvara. Okay, let me read this. This specs doesn't work. Just a minute. I have to use another aspect. Okay, I've become a very old man. Brahman and Ishvara. Okay, Brahman is the cause of birth. We'll just read. Brahman is the cause of the birth. Cause of Srishti Sthiti Laya. Birth, sustenance and dissolution of the universe. This is what Shastra says. Dissolution of universe differentiated into name and form. Contained, so therefore, in one Brahma Sutra, second sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha. Okay. In the second sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha, Bhashyakara says that the Brahman is the cause. Brahman is the cause of the world. The world consisting of name and form. World consisting of name and form. Therefore, Brahman is the cause of the birth, sustenance, and dissolution of the universe, differentiated into name and form, containing numerous agents. Aneka kartru bhoktru sanyuktasya, he says. Aneka kartru bhoktru, it contains many innumerable jivas. Innumerable jivas, innumerable kartas and bhoktas. Okay? And their fruits of actions. Kartas and then karmas, karma phalas. Karta, karma and karma phala. All, that means entire world along with all the jivas. All this is born of Brahman. From the highest standpoint of Vedanta, Paramartha Drishti, the causality simple. Now here, when we say, when Vedanta says that Brahman is the cause of the world, means the world emanates from Brahman. What does it mean? Emanates means not only rises. See, God creates the world when we say it is not like in Abrahamic religions. There God creates the world, that's all. Remaining things, they don't talk of it. Here we say we understand God completely. We can understand Him completely only when He is understood as the cause, sustenance. Sustenance means He pervades and He continuously maintains it. There, in Abrahamic religions, God creates and leaves the world to run on its own. And once in a while He interferes, they say. This idea of interfering in the world, they have it. Because there is one NRI, he lived in America for a long time and then he's in India now, he's in Hyderabad. He would tell me, he would ask me question always, you mean God doesn't interfere? Oh, God comes and interferes? I said, where did you get this idea of interference? God is continuously maintaining it. He is continuously running. Where is the question of interfering once in a while and running? Is the world like a machine that you switch on and leave it and once in a while come and check it and go away? Once in a while come and check it whether it is running properly. Check it and go away. Once in a while God comes and checks it. Not that. Continuously He is the one who is running. He is the maintainer of the world. He not only He creates, He continuously maintains because He is not away from it. God is not away from the world. He is continuously running in it. Running means in and through is the world. In every action, in every thought, in every modification, in every change, consciousness is there. It is the conscious that is working with every thought. In every thought, in every form, every name, every change, every action, every result. So it's in and through pervasive of all the world. Therefore, in our understanding, in our means Vedantic. Vedanta is neither ours nor yours. It is there in Shastra, it is everybody's. Those who want to understand it is everybody's. Whoever understands it, whoever accepts it, it belongs to everybody. So, Vedantic Ishvara means the Ishvara, Brahman which Vedanta presents, is a creator of it. Creator means he is not a creator out of non-existence as Abrahamic books say. Not out of nothing. He creates out of himself. How can he create out of himself? That means he appears like a dancer appears. A dancer presents various postures. In our dancing poses. She poses into various forms. A dancer, you see, like Nava Dashavatara, like Rama, she holds, and Krishna Chakra, and Narsimha, all these various forms, these various postures indicate various thoughts, various ideas, various forms. Like a tree, she stands like a tree, she stands like a mountain, she stands like a river. She herself, dancer, a dancing woman, or a boy also, dancing boy or girl, present various shows. So the dancer is Ishvara, the postures are Srishti, the world. So dancer is not only cause of the dancing postures, but she is continuously in that dancing postures. And when she stops dancing, all that dance dissolves into her. Why dissolving? Has it been separate? Even the word dissolving becomes meaningless. When the world which is appearing is never away from Paramatma, then the dissolution is also a figurative expression. A figurative expression, because is not really born and really lives, and when it is born, is it separate? It is not separate. In fact, purpose of creation, sustenance, and dissolution is only to show that the world that is appearing is inseparable from Brahman. It is not away from Brahman. It is one with Brahman. Therefore, the creation, sustenance, and dissolution is only a prakriya. It is only a method of contemplation. It is a method for your vichara, not a method of occurrence. It is not a method. It is not a method. It is not a process of actual occurrence. It is a method for our contemplation to understand that is oneness. Okay, that's why it is a prakriya for understanding, prakriya for meditating, prakriya for thinking. It is a method of thinking for a sadhaka to think in that lines and understand the world as one with it. Like ornament is inseparable from gold, wave is inseparable from water. To understand how wave is already water, it has never been away from water. So you think that it is a water only to correct your thinking that it is something risen from water, it has risen from water as if it is separate. So the thought of separateness has to be corrected. In fact, actually, the wave has never parted from the water, never left water, never modified water. Water has not modified into water wave, because wave means water only. Therefore, we say take these three things together, that the wave is born of water, is sustained by water, dissolutions water. Take the implication of all these suggestions, that it is born, sustained, and dissolved. All the three put together you take it. Don't take three as events in time. Okay? These three are not gradual, sequential occurrences, serial occurrences. Birth, sustenance, dissolution. They are not serial occurrences in time. They are only presentations for a sadhaka to think, for a vicharaka, for a self-inquiry, for a self-inquirer. These are the three ways of understanding. You divide the wave into three parts. One is the cause of production, the basis of sustenance, and the basis into which it dissolves. So we take them from three angles of looking, three aspects of looking, that's all. They are not three events. Nor that there is a Brahman is a threefold Brahman. Neither Brahman is a threefold, one creates, one, the Pauranikas say that Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, these are all way of presenting anyway. So they are not three people separately operating. No, they are not three people. They are not three actions on the part of one Brahman, serial actions. They are not serial actions, one occurring one after the other. Okay? They are not serial actions. They are only three ways of understanding one Brahman. To understand one Brahman with reference to wave, these three aspects, three ways of looking. Okay? How Brahman is related to wave in these three aspects. Three aspects, three ways of looking in order to understand the original nature, the entire nature of wave. The entire nature of wave has to be understood from these three angles, three aspects, three angles. When three angle he is one, the same water. In creation, same water. In sustenance, same water. In dissolution, same water. If he is same water in all three aspects, oh, it means wave is nothing but water. That is a conclusion. See, the ultimate aim of this presentation of this prakriya is, it is nothing but water. that your idea, that your thinking, that wave is something separate from water, is wrong. So to correct your wrong idea, to show that wave has been water. Because see, even that presentation of the prakriya, as soon as is created, is sustained by water, means what? Any creation generally means, any birth means you move away from it. When a calf is born of cow, when a cow is born of a calf, it moves away from mother. It comes out of womb and lives independently. When mother passes away, after some time, of course, in the beginning, babyhood days, it has to give her milk, and after some time, after a few months, the calf grows into cow. The mother cow passes away. Still, the calf lives on. So, in the worldly sense, when a thing is created, uh, the baby, the child survives, and even if mother dies, baby survives. So don't take it that sense. Take it like wave and water. Therefore, because the water which produces is there, right there alone. It's not moved away. The wave which is born of water still remains with water. It doesn't move away from water. That means, then what does it mean? Does it mean that then what does the creation mean? If the wave doesn't move away from water, then creation has no meaning. True, that's what it is. After creation, sustenance is by water. Then creation and sustenance is water. That means what is the nature of wave? Oh, created but remained with water. Created but remained with water. Therefore, it is again one with water. Oh, it means the collective implication of these three angles. The collective implication of collective implication of birth, sustenance, and dissolution. So the one from whom thing is born, and one who sustains, and one into whom it dissolves. These three are one. These three angles you are looking at, the three angles of three relationship of wave with water, three angles of looking or three relationship of wave with water. Take the collective meaning of all the three aspects, all the three angles, all the three uh, standpoints. In all the three standpoints relate to water. That means when a thing is born of something, lives in on it and dissolves into it, it only means that it is inseparable from its cause. So the cause and effect relationship is a false. There is no real cause and effect, because there is no cause, there is no effect separate from it. Cause and effect is only tentatively assumed in order to show this relationship of cause and effect brings them together, not separates them. Therefore, cause and effect prakriya. The prakriya of cause and effect is not to show them how they are two, how the one is born from it and gets separated. It is not to show how the effect is separated from cause. So this prakriya of cause and effect is only to show how there has never been effect. It was not a cause, it was not an effect, because they are never two. The idea of two is wrong. They were never two. Never think the dancer and her postures. Dancer and posture are not two. Postures are dancer. From the standpoint of dancer, where are the postures? Ask, tell me. If a dancer is dancing, she exhibits various postures, various poses, sitting, standing, bending, all like various bends. Now, all these postures are inseparable from the dancer. But for the onlooker, the spectators, the drama audience, the drama who are the viewers, for the viewers, what a beautiful Abba, Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Dashavatara, you can see them, Matsyavatara, Kurmavatara, all Narsimhavatara, Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Buddha, everything you can see them. Various postures you can see them. It implies a lot of activity, number of people, names and qualities and many things. But for the dancer, does she see? Does the dancer see her various postures herself? When I say stand like this, do I see? I see myself. Even if I raise my hand, it is myself. Even if I show Narsimha like this, a Narsimha is you see Narsimha dancer. They take out the tongue because she is a lion, because Narasimha is a lion faced, therefore she takes out the tongue and shows that. This is what Narasimha Swami. This is what Narasimha Swami. So here, when she takes out the tongue, does she see the face, angry face of a lion? Aggressive and angry face of, fierce face of lion? Can she see? For her, she is herself. All her postures are herself. Therefore, from the standpoint of water, all the wave is nothing but water. So the idea of wave itself is nothing but a name alone. There is nothing away from water. It has never moved away from water. That means the idea of cause and effect is wrong. So what is cause? The same is effect. What is cause? The same you are calling as an effect by looking at wrongly, looking at in a limited sense. You are looking in a limited sense and looking at the same thing and calling it as water. That means wave and water are one. They are two names for one thing. This is the prakriya. Okay. You must have heard this number of times. Vedantins here, but as we told, it is a manana. When we do repeatedly contemplate, again and again reflect, the point becomes clear because it has to be understood. It is not to be once get an idea and leave it. It should not remain an idea. It should become a vision. It should become an intuition where the idea of two should dissolve and it should become one understanding, one consciousness. The waves of consciousness are inseparable from consciousness. World is nothing but thoughts. What are thoughts? Thoughts are waves in consciousness. So, what are the waves? Waves is taking them in a limited way is wave. You expand your vision, it is water. You take in a small way, limited way. Taking it is in a limited way, but you take, but in the water itself, wave has not moved away from water. Similarly, the thought has not moved away from consciousness. The thought, even though it looks away from consciousness, still it is consciousness. Isn't it? See, you think that you are thinking of a far away Delhi. Okay, you are in Bangalore. Think far away Delhi. Just because you think far away Delhi, does your mind stretches? Does your thought stretches into 1,000 kilometers? It is an idea of 1,000 kilometers. Thought is same. When you think of 1 kilometer or think of 1,000 kilometers. See, you tell me, do you have a long thought in your mind? Is the thought long or the idea of a thought is long? Thought is same. Whether you think of 1 kilometer, whether you think of 1,000 kilometers, thought is thought. In the thought there is no in the thought there is no distance. Thought has no distance. Thought is not stretching. The idea of the thought is bigger and smaller. Whether you have a big thought or a small thought, thought is thought. Similarly, in the consciousness, you have a thought of another. Thought of another is also within consciousness. Thought of other than consciousness is consciousness. This is the thing you have to understand. Thought of other than consciousness is also within consciousness. Then other is only a false thought. This is what is Vedanta. Thought of other than consciousness is consciousness. You think of other than consciousness, let me see. How do you think? Other than consciousness, this whole thing is within consciousness. You have never moved away from consciousness. Therefore, even the thought of other than consciousness is nothing but consciousness. Similarly, thought is consciousness alone. Thought is like a wave in water. Wave in water is water. Wave is not something away from something change and modification in water. It is nothing but water. So it is simply a misunderstanding. Similarly, like a dancer assuming various postures doesn't mean she has become somebody else. She has not become somebody else. Throughout the dance, she remains a dancer only. It is the onlooker gets an impression that what a demonstration, what a beautiful various postures I have seen. How nice is the dancer, they clap and go into delight and they become happy and all. But the dancer, there is no difference, she has been the same. From her standpoint, all dance is herself. Does she see the difference between dance and dancer? Exactly like this. Okay. Therefore, Brahman, in the second sutra of Brahma Sutra, Bhashakara says that Brahman is the creator. When we say creator, what does it mean? Don't think really there is somebody who creates, there is an event of creation and there is a product. You are imagining all this as if something happening in the world. Okay? But this is not implied here. Because we are talking of the entire world. When the entire world includes time and place, it includes subject-object duality, mind and the world, thoughts, mind, world, everything. When you talk of the entire world, when you take entire state, entire waking state, then where is the cause? Cause is not away from the state. The state is already part of the consciousness. The entire sakshi, the witnessing consciousness is all pervading the waking state. The sakshi consciousness is pervading the entire waking state. Therefore, consciousness and wave, they are not two. Therefore, from the Paramarthika Drishti, in absolute sense, in Paramarthika Drishti, the causality simply means the universe being superimposition on Brahman. Superimposition is not an event. Superimposition is not something separate. It is a thought of separateness in spite of being oneness. This is called Adhyasa. In spite of being one, as though it is separate. A thought of separation without being really separate. A thought of separation without really being separate. That means you remain same, but you think as if something separate. That as if alone needs to be corrected. This is what Vedanta is. It is already one. It has never moved away. Therefore, see Swamiji's expression. So, being a superimposition on Brahman has no existence of its own apart from Brahman. These Swamiji put in italics. This last sentence, these 3 lines or 4 lines, 3.5 lines is put in italics because they are very important. I underlined in my book. See, it is Paramarthika Drishti. Paramarthika Drishti means don't take as a really happening. Brahma and creation and the world. Don't take these as real events. Take the implication of all this prakriya, all this way of presentation. That there is Brahman, he creates, and the world. These 3 steps, don't use them as a 3 steps. They are all one. 3 steps are 1 step alone. Brahma is not separate from creation. Creation is not separate from the created product. That means creation is one with created is one with creation. Creation is one with Brahma. So Brahma, creation, created, all the 3 are one. Now you understand. Dancer, starting her dance and the postures. Dancer, dance and postures. Are they 3? Dancer, dancing. Then postures appear. Is the posture separate from dance? Is the dance separate from dancer? You are unnecessarily dividing. That's what it is. Yes, you are unnecessarily dividing. They are one. Similarly, Paramarthika Drishti. Paramarthika Drishti means the assumption of division is not there. You are not assuming the division. This assumption of division is instinctively present, is natural, instinctive adhyasa of all jivas. All jivas have got this natural adhyasa. Instinctively you take it for granted and live it. Now we are questioning it. In Vedanta, what we do? We question it. Is it true? Question means what? What I have taken for granted, what I am thinking as the world and consciousness, are they two? Is there existence and appearance? Is there consciousness and the appearance of the world? Are there two? Try to question again. This idea of two, what is it? Is there really true? Oh, more and more you question. There are no two, they are one. Yeah, that's what it is. Therefore, Paramarthika Drishti means this implication of this prakriya is to tell you the created is not separate from creation. Creation is not separate from created. Creator, creation, created. Creator, creation, created. These 3 are not 2. They are not 3. Okay, like a dancer. dance, and postures. Are they three? Watch them. Watch, closely watch. Oh, you are using three words for the one experience, one indivisible experience. You are using three words and confusing. Yes, I am using the words not to confuse you. You already have a division. To dissolve your division, to correct your division. Division is only a thought. Division is only, this division of three is only your thinking. We are trying to correct the thinking. You are correct your assumption. They are one. Watch. Ah, yes, yes, they are one. That's what it is. Okay. Paramarthikada. Speaking is a very tiring because I have not learned how to speak without straining myself. Some people speak for hours together. I felt that I should learn from them how to speak without straining. I am unable to learn. So I end up straining my vocal cords. Anyway, it's 1 hour. So this first, he quotes, Swamiji quotes here Bhashaka. Just in 2 minutes I'll finish. I won't take much time because my throat doesn't allow me. So one is, he quotes that Brahma Sutra Bhashya, second sutra. Next he gives an implication of it. I have elaborately explained the implication and the prakriya and its implication. Don't take the prakriya literally. The steps in prakriya are not actual events. Okay, the steps in prakriya: creator, creator, creation, and created. They are not three. These steps are not real occurrences. They are only, take the total implication of all the three. Total implication, collective implication of all the three. That is the implication of all the three is the real aim. That's why prakriya has a intention, an idea to convey. Prakriya is not an actual occurrence of events. They are not actual occurrence of steps. The total implication of all the three, that's all it means. That's why we call it a prakriya of thinking, for a vicharaka to understand. It is not a prakriya means method means, it is not a process of happening, it is a process to help you to think, process of thinking to help you to dissolve one into the other. Okay, the product, uh, the posture is a part of the dance. Dance is part of the dancer. Then there is no dancer, dance, and postures. All three are one. This is the implication of totally. Okay, so Swamiji gave the implication of it and what is prakriya and how to understand. I have elaborated little. Most of you already know, but when you do again and again contemplate, certain clarity comes. See, knowing is different from clarity. Clarity comes from reflection. In reflection, many of the points you already know. I only help you to once again point out, once again pay attention towards the truth. That's all. Don't think that every time you get some new. New means you get a new insight. This much we can say. You get an insight, but the expressions, ideas will be same. The words, the expressions already known to you. But once again I help you. Once again you point, when I point out, you pay attention to it and reflect on it, you get a deeper insight. That's the purpose. So don't expect each time you get a new idea, new words and new expressions. Words will be same. Expressions will be same. An insight, you get it. That's why the manana gives you new insight. Even if you read for yourself also, you get a new insight. But this is an occasion we sit together and discuss. So this expression will help you, it will help all of us to get a new insight. Okay. So, so from this expression, we get a clear insight. In that insight, the division disappears. Division dissolves, is understood as one. The division is only a thought. It is not a real division, it is always one. Okay, this is the implication. So Swamiji brought out, first he gave the quotation of Sutra Bhashya, then implication, then last As a confirmation, he takes help of Gaudapada Shloka. I'll just quote and leave it. Swato va parato vapi na kinchit vastu jayate sadasat satasadvapi na kinchit vastu jayate. Okay. In fact, this is a Purapaksha, this shloka. Okay, he's elaborating how understanding this prakriya to help you to understand the oneness. This is a question. I think we will discuss in the next class only, because the question and then the Swamiji's answer. Question is, this shloka is a question. He's asking. Gaudapadacharya said that. Okay, and next paragraph is his answer. That also is meant for contemplation, for your reflection only. Okay, I'll stop it with it. We'll see tomorrow or some other day. Weekly two, I think weekly two alone we will do. Certain other days we will do some other things. That morning class in Kannada will continue, because Kannadigas, I'm in Karnataka, I have to speak in Kannada for them. I have no choice. They won't leave me and it. I have to speak in Kannada. So that before noon talks will be in Kannada. This evenings will be in English. Weekly two or three I'll do, depending upon my time and other things, because we have got other classes also. Okay, we'll see next. I can't say tomorrow. I'll try. If not tomorrow, day after. Someday, at least with one day gap, I may do it. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Hari Om Tat Sat.